Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to all participants for today's professional meeting. My name is Norhik Matajana and I will be serving as the chairperson for the session. The purpose of today's meeting is to discuss antimicrobial resistance or AMR from five different perspectives, namely society, medical, economic, environmental, and also policy perspective. After hearing all viewpoints, we will also be identifying and discussing which perspective offer the most effective and comprehensive solution in addressing AMR, and finally conclude our discussion based on the overall consensus. I hope everyone will actively participate and share their thoughts throughout the session. So I will start with the society perspective. From what the speaker highlighted, the main issue in society is the misuse and overuse of antibiotics. The speaker pointed out that there are still many misconceptions where some people believe antibiotics can treat viral infection like flu or the common cold. Because of this misunderstanding, antibiotics are often used inappropriately, which then contribute to antimicrobial resistance. To address this, the speaker suggests raising public awareness through education programs, which includes effort from students, universities, healthcare organizations, and community groups using platforms like public talks, exhibition, and outreach activities to share correct information and encourage responsible antibiotic use. From a societal point of view, I find the speaker's idea quite strong because it directly addresses the issue of awareness, which is often the root cause. It also encourages community involvement where different groups can play a role in spreading accurate information. That said, there are still some limitations. Not everyone may have access to these programs. And even when people are aware, it doesn't always translate into behavior change. Some may still continue using antibiotics incorrectly out of habit or convenience. Overall, I do think the speaker's suggestion is realistic, especially since similar awareness efforts are already being carried out in universities and communities. With consistent effort and wider participation, it can definitely help reduce antibiotic misuse over time. So that's wrap up on my part on the society perspective. Next, we will move on the medical perspective. I'd now like to invite Hanim to share her thought and analysis on the speaker's medical perspective on antimicrobial resistance. Hanim, over to you.
Thank you, Himatul. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anim binti Moshido Ahyan. So I will speak about the medical perspective. Based on the medical perspective presented in the video, the speaker is trying to solve the growing issue of antimicrobial resistant AMR caused by the misuse and overuse of antibiotics. As bacteria and over as the bacteria become resistant to antibiotics, common infection become increasingly difficult to treat, reducing the effectiveness of antibiotics and threatening the public health. To address this problem, the speaker proposed strengthening antibiotics stewardship programs in hospitals and clinics. The idea is that healthcare institutions should monitor antibiotic prescription, reduce unnecessary antibiotic use, and promote responsible prescribing practice among healthcare professionals. The speaker also highlighted examples from countries such as the United States and Switzerland, where this program have been implemented to improve the antibiotic prescribing practice and also to reduce the antimicrobial resistance. One of the strengths of this solution is that it provides a practical and systematic approach to control the antibiotic use within the healthcare system. By ensuring antibiotics are prescribed only when necessary, the spread of resistant bacteria can be reduced while improve the patient safety. Furthermore, the use of real-world examples from other countries strengthen the credibility of the proposed solution. However, there are several weaknesses associated with this solution. The implementation may require substantial funding, trained healthcare professionals, and also continuous monitoring to ensure its effectiveness. In addition, the solution mainly focuses on hospital and clinics, but does not fully address the public awareness and patient behavior, which are also a major factor contributing to antibiotic misuse. Overall, this idea can be realistically implemented in Malaysia because some AMR control program already exist. However, stronger policy, adequate funding, and continuous public education are also necessary to ensure its effectiveness nationwide. Therefore, while this solution is feasible, its success depends on long-term commitment and cooperation among. Therefore, while the solution is feasible, its success depends on long-term commitment and cooperation among healthcare institutions, policymakers, and the public. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hanim. Next, we move on to the economic perspective. I would like to invite Justisha to present her analysis. Justisha, over to you.
Um, my name is Josisha, and I will be discussing the economic perspective. Based on the economic perspective presented on the video, the speaker is trying to solve the growing economic burden caused by antimicrobial resistance, AMR. As bacteria become resistant to antibiotics, patients require more expensive treatments, longer hospital stay, and additional medical resources, which increase healthcare costs and place financial pressure on individual and government. To address this problem, the speaker proposed increasing investment in AMR research and innovation. The idea is that government and healthcare organizations should support the development of new antibiotics and advanced treatment technology. Although this requires substantial funding, this innovation can improve treatment effectiveness and reduce long-term care costs by minimizing the need for prolonged hospitalization and expensive medication. One of the strengths of this solution is that it provides a long-term and sustainable approach to combating antimicrobial resistance. By developing new antibiotics and treatment methods, our system can continue treating infections effectively and avoid even greater economic losses in the future. Furthermore, investment in research promotes scientific advancement and helps prepare countries for emerging health challenges. However, there are several weaknesses associated with this solution. Research and development require very high initial costs and may take many years before producing successful outcomes. In addition, there is no guarantee that newly developed antibiotics will remain effective if antibiotic misuse continues. Developing countries with limited financial resources may also struggle to allocate sufficient funds for such research. Overall, this idea can be realistically implemented, but it requires strong commitment on adequate funding. Government, pharmaceutical companies, universities, and international organizations can collaborate to support AMR research and share the financial burden. Therefore, while the solution is feasible, its success depends on long-term investment and continuous efforts to ensure that new antibiotics are used responsibly. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Justisha. Okay, now we move to the environmental perspective. I would like to invite Iqmal to share his analysis. Iqmal, please proceed.
Thank you. And good morning, everyone. My name is Muhammad Iqmal bin Jamali, and I will be cross-evaluated for the presentation. We have environmental perspective, antibiotic pollution, and environmental monitoring. The speaker is attempting to address the growing issue of antibiotic pollution in the environment. Antibiotic residues from hospitals, pharmaceutical manufacturing plants, livestock farms, and agricultural activities are entering rivers, soil, and water system through wastewater discharge and improper waste management. These residues contribute to the development of antimicrobial resistance, AMR, where bacteria become resistant to antibiotics and are harder to treat. The speaker highlights that this issue is not only a global concern, but is also occurring in Malaysia, as demonstrated by the Kanga Valley Hospital case study. If it left unmanaged, antibiotic pollution could threaten ecosystems, public health, and the effectiveness of future medical treatments. The speaker also proposes that Malaysia adopt a monitoring and regulatory framework similar to the one that implemented in the Netherlands. This approach includes establishing a national database to track antibiotic usage, implementing continuous wastewater monitoring systems, setting legal limits on antibiotic discharge, and imposing strict penalties on organizations that enforcing regulation that fail to comply with environmental standards by and enforcing regulations. The proposed system aims to prevent excessive antibiotic contamination before it causes irreversible environmental damage. The speaker presents the solution as a proven strategy that has successfully reduced antibiotic-related pollution in the Netherlands. One of the main strengths of this solution is its preventive approach. Instead of responding only after environmental damage has occurred, the system focuses on identifying and controlling pollution at its source. Continuous monitoring provides real-time data, enabling authorities to detect pollution incidents quickly and take corrective action. The inclusion of legal limits and financial penalties also encourages industries, hospitals, and agricultural operators to comply with environmental regulations. Furthermore, because the proposal is based on a successful model used in Netherlands, it demonstrates that the strategy is practical and has already produced positive results in reducing antibiotic pollution and also improving environmental protection. Despite its advantages, the proposed solution may face several challenges when implemented in Malaysia. Establishing a nationwide monitoring system would require substantial financial investment, advanced technology, and trained personnel. The success of the framework also depends on strong enforcement and cooperation among multiple stakeholders, including government agencies, healthcare institutions, industries, and farmers. In addition, the presentation does not provide detailed information regarding implementation costs, funding sources, or the timeline required for deployment. The idea can be realistically implemented in Malaysia, although it would likely need to be introduced gradually rather than all at once. Malaysia already has environmental and public health authorities that could support the development of a monitoring framework for antibiotic pollution. However, successful implementation would require adequate funding, stronger regulatory enforcement, and greater awareness among industries and the public. A phased implementation strategy, beginning with high-risk sectors such as hospitals, pharmaceutical facilities, and large-scale livestock farms, would be more practical and cost-effective. With sufficient government commitment and stakeholder cooperation, the proposed solution has the potential to significantly reduce antibiotic pollution and improve long-term environmental sustainability. So I guess that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ikmal. Finally, we move to the policy perspective. I would like to invite Hanisha to present her analysis. Hanisha, over to you.
Thank you, Hikmatul. Today, I, Hanisha, will be evaluating the solution proposed by the speaker regarding the issue of antimicrobial resistance, or AMR. The main problem that the speaker is trying to solve is the increasing rate of antimicrobial resistance caused by the misuse and overuse of antibiotics. AMR happens when the bacteria develop resistance toward antibiotics, causing infection to become more difficult to treat. This issue is not only related to healthcare, but it also involves governance because it requires proper policies, monitoring systems, and cooperation between different sectors. In the current situation, Malaysia has taken several steps to address AMR. According to the speaker, Malaysia has improved antimicrobial resistance surveillance systems, strengthened laboratory testing and diagnostic capabilities, and enhanced the collection and monitoring of AMR data. Malaysia has also adopted the One Health approach, which encourage collaboration between healthcare, agriculture, and environmental sectors because antibiotic resistance can spread across different systems. However, despite this effort, there are still several challenges. One of the main problems is the limitation of surveillance system, which make it difficult to fully monitor antibiotic misuse and resistance patterns. Another challenge is the lack of coordination between different agencies and sectors, which can affect the effectiveness of policy implementation. In addition, existing regulation may not always be able to keep up with changing healthcare practices and online medicine sales, which may increase the risk of antibiotic misuse. The solution proposed by the speaker focus on improving governance through stronger policies, better monitoring system, and cross-sector collaboration. One successful example mentioned is Sweden's trauma program or the Swedish strategic program against antibiotic resistance, which introduced strict antibiotic prescription controls, nationwide surveillance system, antibiotic stewardship programs in hospitals, and public awareness campaign. The strength of the solution is that it does not only focus on treating the problem after it happens, but also focus on prevention and control. By improving monitoring systems and cooperation between sectors, governments can better understand resistance and create more effective strategies. However, the weakness of the solution is that it requires strong commitment from different organizations. It may be difficult to implement because it depends on continuous cooperation, proper funding, and public awareness. Without consistent monitoring and enforcement, the effectiveness of the solution may be reduced. In my opinion, this idea can be realistically be implemented because there are already successful examples such as Sweden's trauma program. However, it requires continuous effort from governments, healthcare professionals, and the public. Also, it requires effective policies, strong governance, and collaboration between different sectors. That's all from me.
Thank you everyone for sharing your opinions. You can see that each perspective has its own strength and addresses different aspects of antimicrobial resistance. Let us now discuss and evaluate whether the policy perspective selected in the debate is truly more suitable solution. So we will start with Hanim.
I understand why the policy perspective was chosen in the debate. But I initially disagree that it should automatically be considered the best solution. From the medical perspective, the main problem is inapparated antibiotic prescribing. Strengthening antibiotic stewardship programs directly address this issue. Its strength is that it's targeted antibiotic misuse at the healthcare level and has already proven effective. However, its weakness is that it mainly focuses on hospital and clinics. I believe this idea is realistic because Malaysia already has several AMR control programs. Therefore, Therefore, I initially believe that the medical perspective should be prioritized.
I partly disagree with you. Even if prescribing practice into antimicrobial resistance will continue to evolve. From the economic perspective, the problem is rising healthcare costs and the future shortage of effective antibiotics. Investing in research and innovation can provide long-term solutions, although it requires high funding and takes years to produce results. I think the solution is realistic, but I don't think research alone is enough. At first, I believe the economic perspective deserves more attention than policy.
I disagree with both of you to some extent. Public misconception and irresponsible behavior are among the biggest causes of antibiotic misuse. Public awareness campaigns are affordable and can help change people's behavior. Their strength is that they are easy to implement, but the weakness is that behavioral change takes time. So I think believe that Society should be the priority because even the best policy will fail if the public does not cooperate.
I understand your arguments, but I think environmental issues are often overlooked. Antibiotic residues released into water and soil contribute to resistant bacteria. Stricter wastewater treatment and monitoring systems can tackle the problem at its source. However, these measures are expensive and require strict enforcement. Therefore, I initially believe that environmental protection should receive more attention.
I respect everyone's opinion, but I support the policy perspective. The main problem is weak coordination between sectors and insufficient regulations. A national antibiotic control program similar to Sweden's trauma can strengthen surveillance systems, stewardship programs, public awareness, environmental regulation, and research funding. Although implementation requires strong commitment and resource, I believe it's realistic because Malaysia already follows one health approach. Therefore, I think the policy perspective is the most comprehensive solution.
Thank you, everyone. After listening to the different arguments, it seems that although we initially prioritize different perspectives, each solution actually depends on strong coordination and support from a national framework. Let's hear everyone's final thought.
After listening to everyone's arguments, I realized that medical intervention alone are not enough. They need support from national policy and standard.
I agree. Research and innovation are important, but without proper coordination and funding, they may not be sustainable.
I agree as well. Public awareness campaigns are necessary, but they will be more effective when they are supported under a national strategy.
Environmental measures also require strong regulations and enforcement, which can only be achieved through government coordination.
Therefore, we all agree with the conclusion reached in the debate. A national antibiotic control program is the most suitable solution because it integrates medical intervention, research and innovation, public awareness, and environmental protection into one coordinated approach. Since antimicrobial resistance is a multidimensional issue, a comprehensive policy framework offers the most practical and sustainable solution.
In conclusion, although we initially had different opinions regarding the best solution, our discussion has shown that antimicrobial resistance cannot be addressed through a single perspective alone. Therefore, we unanimously agree that a national antibiotic control program provides the most comprehensive and sustainable as it integrates efforts from the medical, economic, social, environmental, and policy perspective. So that's all for our meeting today. Thank you.